Okay, well, welcome everybody. I will call the committee of the whole meeting to order for May the 21st. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that this meeting is being held in the Northern Rockies Administration Center, which is in the heart of the traditional territory of the Dene, Cree, and Danezau people, our friends, neighbors, Treaty 8 partners. We further recognize our rights and the rights contained within that treaty, and we also celebrate the contributions and enduring presence of the Métis people in our region. Please be advised that this afternoon's meeting is available to the public to attend virtually and is being streamed and recorded. Are there any staff additions? No. Okay. Any council additions? Okay. The agenda is pretty straightforward. I think our first discussion is Committee of the Whole Report 1226, talking about the UBCM convention meeting schedule. So I will turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is our run-of-the-mill annual discussion about the topics and ministries that council would like to submit requests to for UBCM this coming fall. So we look back to last year and gave a bit of some thought around council's strategic priorities and the progress made to date, and created some suggestions there for your consideration. But as always, this is council's opportunity to meet with the politicians of the province to advocate and lobby as you see fit. So open for discussion. One additional note, Krista Vandersteen brought it to our attention this afternoon that the TAC has requested council resolve to write a letter to the province around permitting. So they've created a public portal for permitting for some tourism operators, but not really tourism operators that would be impacted at our level, and like a fraction of the overall tourism industry. So their hope is that could be opened up to all tourism operators to streamline that process, because things like hunting, guiding, outfitting, backcountry access is still a very time-consuming process for the permitting to be approved or not. So that'll be coming at the next council meeting, but just something to bear in mind as you discuss the ministries overall.
Okay. Any thoughts? Let's do them one at a time. I mean, for sure, the Minister of Forests. We've got lots to talk about with the Ministry of Forests. Some things we can talk about open, some things maybe not so much. So again, asking for supply review. I think what you've got in here is good. And then in camera, we can talk about a couple of other things that I think need to be spoken with the Ministry of Forests. Ministry of Health. How many times have we asked for a meeting and not got it? Is it, what are you on, 9 years now? So last year she was, she thought to try to get us in at the last minute, but we weren't able to. So let's try to get one right up the start this year. And again, all the issues that we want to talk about with the Ministry of Health, particularly around the CT scanner and how we're making headway with that. Questions, comments? I mean, housing and municipal affairs, we have to do that, the IDCA agreement. Have we ever really heard back about the Fire Safety Act? Did they? Yeah.
No update since our last
we talked to them last year.
No. Besides, I mean, they've indicated that they're working on it in the background at that time, and they're aware of our stand, and all indications are it's going to change, but we intend to, from a staff perspective, get an update when we go back if you don't have one in the meantime.
Well, we've got to sort that out. So I guess we should try to talk to them again, just say we haven't heard back.
I think it makes sense if there's no, if the situation hasn't been resolved, I think it makes sense from an elected official perspective to have that conversation again with the ministers so that we can keep our finger on the pulse.
Last year, had a lot of things we were concerned about with the RCMP, but most of that has seemed to have worked itself through.
Yeah.
The situation, so. Okay. Economic development, we always need to be talking to them about rail. Always. I think it would be good that we put our Deloitte study in front of them. You know, talk about, you know, I don't know if we'll get into the policies of the provincial government, how they've been negatively impacting the resource industry here, but you know, it's pretty clear to me that based on that Deloitte report that we're making a transition from a resource-based economy to a service-based economy. And at least in the near term, until something happens, either we see a new government or we start to see some different policies around carbon, particularly the carbon taxes has got these guys hamstrung for the most part because they have to generate their own electricity. So yeah, so I guess we should continue talking to them about that and any support we can get for the rail and potential idea of becoming a logistics hub here. I see here, is it environment and climate, is that actually BC Hydro? Like, does that fall under them? Or does it fall?
Or sorry, energy.
Energy.
Where did we put that?
Yeah, you put that
Yeah,
to the
no.
Ministry of Environment and Climate Solutions,
Sorry, that should have been energy. Yeah.
Ministry of Energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We both missed that.
Okay.
They change so often. I thought maybe it'd just be under a new one now.
Well, we have Ministry of Environment already a second time here, so yeah, myself and Jay both missed that as we were going through this.
But yeah, so there's a couple of things here. I mean, the hydro right-of-way vegetation issue is, to me, that's a compliance and enforcement issue that probably falls someplace else, but we can bring that up. Energy planning you've got here, response to economic growth. I wonder if we should be talking to them about these data hubs and their procedure around encouraging data hubs in the north and the need for electricity.
I think that's a very, so since we're in the background, we're having those discussions right now with Hydro, but I think it's important to have that discussion at that venue for sure. And the other interesting dynamic, we're seeing the shift in, but not quite sure from a provincial perspective, but federally, it was announced last week that from a energy perspective, the feds are supporting nuclear and natural gas generated power, which is a 180 from where the province of BC is. With our long-term plan or the BC Hydro's long-term plan with this particular generating station. So the question is what does that look like? Like, because it's a complete opposite of what the feds are saying. And we're being told from a hydro perspective that I think it was 2040 at least, that particular generating station needs to transition into something other than natural gas. And then the other piece in our initial conversations when we talk potential data hubs or AI hubs or whatnot, there seems to be at the very initial conversations, but a lack of clarity in terms of where we sit as a community because we're not on the grid, right? So there's regulations that provincially they have in terms of who can tie into the grid and what that maximum amount is, or from a kilowatt perspective or megawatt perspective, I guess. So we have more work to do internally, but I think it makes sense as we move forward that conversation occurs at the minister level too. Especially considering that the other issue we have the long-term plan is that there's no growth projected. Meanwhile, there's this opportunity there potentially to, we have a perfect environment when it comes to potentially around data hubs for cooling, right? Because we have natural cooling 6 months of the year. So I think there's a lot to be asked and try to kind of
And that adds to the electrical requirement, right? Because most places are they're using cooling system, right?
Yes.
So they have to have extra power just to cool. Where here they've got a reduced requirement for that. So when I was at the economic development forum, I sat in on a session that talked about powering the future. And the province is changing the province / BC Hydro is changing their mind with respect to data hubs. But because it requires so much power, they're making these companies apply to them. And they'll pick winners and losers with respect to who gets power and who doesn't. Right. So it's not just a straight outright ban anymore that they can't connect if they're part of the grid, or they can't connect to the grid if that's the technology that they're trying to support. So they're changing that philosophy to oh yeah, it's you can make an application to us now. We'll have a certain window of opportunity, and we'll pick whoever can fit.
Yeah, the latest conversation I had with BC Hydro with Bob Gammer, so
Yeah.
PR, which was only a couple of weeks ago, specific to that is what it looks like they're doing is having an opportunity for freeing up, for lack of better words, 400 megawatts of power,
Yeah.
and having companies essentially bid and didn't really know what that would look like, besides possibly maybe the part of that proposal is how much they're willing to pay per
Yeah.
megawatt. But at 400 megawatts, and looking at what sometimes from an investment perspective, to make the investment work, from what we're hearing, you're anywhere from 80 to 100 megawatt requirement. So that might allow for on the BC grid. And when I asked, are we included in that bigger picture or separate because we're not in the grid, they didn't have an answer for that. So we are working on having a follow-up discussion
Yeah.
with regards to that. So
that fits with the long-term energy planning and the conflicting policies between the feds and the province.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this list is starting to get longer and longer. And Northern Health, I think the dialogue is probably happening well enough that we don't need to spur a meeting with them right? Based on the dialogue that we're having around primary care and our committee and them, and then the CT scanner. I mean, those are the main issues we've been trying to push. So I don't know that we need a meeting at UBCM, but for sure I'll defer to Deputy Mayor Gerwing on that. You got any thoughts, right?
Yeah, I do have a few thoughts on that. I know have been concentrating on the CT scanner, but depending on what happens with our primary care situation in the community, there might be an opportunity to speak more formally with Northern Health. And I don't know if they'll have a board representative there, just in terms of nurse practitioners and the health authority's stance on that by the time September rolls around. I know that there are some clinics in other health authorities that are run by nurse practitioners. I don't know that there's any in the Northern Health region, but the little bit of research I've been able to do since I've learned a few things at the NCLGA is that if you work with your health authority, there is an opportunity for nurse-run practitioner primary care clinics. So as we are doing that research, September might be a good chance to talk to Northern Health about that. If we don't talk to them prior to that, you all have a good conversation going with Northern Health now, so it might be a moot point, but if it's not, then that would be an opportunity for us to discuss things like that.
So primary care. So I mean, put them on the list. You can always cancel it.
I was going to say we can always request a meeting, and then if similar to the recent NCLJ conference, if we don't see there's a need to based on other discussions or continued discussions, we can always cancel.
Yeah.
I think the other point too is that staffing at the Fort Nelson General Hospital might be something we want to talk about, and extended absences that aren't necessarily covered by a human on site, unless we deal with it beforehand. I don't know.
At the management level.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we might have to split up and do some of these meetings.
Well, on
So-
some of these points too, we probably want to talk to, if we are lucky enough to get a meeting with the minister, it would be a good opportunity for us to discuss our concerns on that end with her as well.
Okay. Ministry of Environment and BC Parks. Do you guys think you got a point across at NCLJ that we still need to talk to?
I don't know. Can we talk about that in public?
It was a good discussion.
You all
Yeah.
would be so proud of us.
I think it's fair to say that the local parks director and the members of council that were NCLJ had a impromptu meeting on the street where some very good discussion happened. Well, it wasn't on the street. It was part of the NCLJ. They had the evening where they had these food trucks come in and they had a bunch of local vendors and stuff, and it was just kind of a street sort of an affair, and they were able to, it was just funny. But they got some good points out with respect to Muncher Lake Park, right? And this idea of $20 fee for folks from out of the province. So I think it was a good discussion, but I suppose we would want to speak to the minister if we don't see any action on those. Even though you guys got, some pretty good feedback from the guy who really is pushing on our behalf anyway.
I've had some happy locals here in the news of the extra charges for out of province.
Do you think it's a good thing?
Yeah, I've had a lot of people come to me telling me how they appreciate it because of the lack of camping we have in our area. They're hoping that it'll limit the out of province so that we can enjoy our backcountry again.
Yeah, I think I've heard some of that too, but the point that we made is we're spending money on tourism, so we're encouraging that tourism economy, and then on the other hand, the province institutes this charge without speaking to anybody. And then I don't know, maybe you all realized it, but I didn't. It's like, so if let's just say you're coming from the Yukon, you stop at the hot springs. So that's like $40 or $49 for that if you're out of province, right? You spend a night or two at the hot springs and then you go to Muncher Lake. So then you have to pay that $20 additional again. And then you stop at Summit Lake to, do the hikes around there. That's another $20. So what I have been hearing, both sides for sure, and there's pros and cons, I fully realize, but if we are going to be encouraging that tourism economy, people are just going to be driving right through, because I don't know that people are going to be spending 60 extra bucks in addition to the 60, so $120, right? I don't know whether they will or not, or they'll just drive straight through.
So for sure, it's something that we can continue to bring up if we don't see any movement on those.
Yep.
Water, lands, resource stewardship. I mean, for sure, the bison elk management discussions that we're having at the Northern Rockies Roundtable. I think it's important that we bring those. And what's not on here is support for that table, right? The province continues to say that they won't support that table, and I think there's enough people there, and we have enough topics here that we shouldn't just be lumped in with the Northeast Roundtable stakeholders group. I think there are issues here that are specific to our region that table is important enough to be supported. So I think we continue to beat that drum whenever we're down there as well. So good report. We've added a few things in there. I think that, yeah, I don't know if we'll get them all or not, but if they end up starting to be too close together, then obviously we'll have to split our delegation up and do multiple meetings at the same time. We're in Vancouver, right? Yeah, so the venue's close anyways.
Yeah.
But I know it's a lot with this many topics, I won't be able to keep it all straight. So we'll need leaders in these meetings to, right? So you can, so that they can focus on the particular topics, because there'll just be too many for, for the mayor to try to remember everything. So if we break up, if we get all these meetings and we break up, then we can, I think we'd be a little more focused.
I guess we should discuss who from council is thinking about attending, so that might guide what we want to do as well.
So we're talking mid-September, September
14th, I think. Bear with me here, sorry. 14th to the 18th, yeah. It's earlier this year. It's an election year. They usually
Yeah.
go a week earlier.
Yeah.
And it's in Vancouver.
So I plan on attending. I don't know. Has anybody else looked at the calendar that far forward? Okay. Yeah. Councilor Roper, have you?
I will if I can. I'm not going to know for sure
It's
until
too
I'm a little
early.
bit closer, but count me as very interested for sure.
Okay.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
I'd like to.
Okay.
Well, being that it's in the Lower Mainland, I believe we're gonna be actually down there until the 11th, so I'll see what happens. Cool. Down the road a little ways,
Right.
then I can make a decision.
It's at the end of something you're already doing down there. Yeah. So maybe you can tack it on.
That's,
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's, Councilor Grewing, I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Grewing, have you given it thought?
Well, we'll see. I mean, if we get a meeting with the health minister, I will endeavor to ensure that I am there, at least for that. Yeah, but I'll know closer to the time as well.
All right. How about rooms? Have we got a block of rooms already enough?
Yeah,
Okay.
we made arrangements for plenty in the fall of last year after UBCM, so should be in
Okay.
good shape. Before council moves on from the ministries, so with regard to the topic that was raised or that will be raised by the TAC, is there a desire to look at seeing if we can get a meeting with the Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that the topic will be covered off under some of, like, it could be an additional topic to ministries that are already on the list, but
Yeah.
tourism wasn't on the list, so.
We can always pitch rail as tourism too.
Correct. And then the last question is just around additional attendees. So last year we had the benefit of the chiefs attending with us, so that's something we can extend the invitation again. But we'll wait maybe to see what the outcome of the election is before we do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and see who we're actually gonna meet with. Because they'll want to know who we're meeting with, right? And whether or not it fits their agenda or not. Yeah, but sometimes we don't know that till too late. Right? Sometimes they don't tell us who we get a meeting with till well, pretty close to August anyways. A couple of weeks before. Their election is July? No, it's early this year, right? Yeah, they moved it up early.
July 13th, I think, it's in July.
All right, well, we'll prepare a report then and send it to the new council and say, here's who we've asked. Are you interested? I think that's probably the best way to participate with us. Okay, yeah,
And just lastly, BC Hydro also reached out. Because we didn't meet with them last year. We did the year before, specifically directly with BC Hydro. So I just wasn't sure if that's something, because that's a separate meeting request also if we go specific to BC Hydro. So not sure if council would want to meet similar with the conversations that we earlier talked about with the Ministry of Energy. If you want to have those direct conversations with Hydro or not.
yeah. All right, put them on the list. We'll see who we get. Full court press this year. All right. So I think we've got everything. There's no additions. Any public that want to ask any questions about that? Anybody in the room? No? Okay, then we will go into a closed meeting for 91J, the community charter. We'll close this meeting for a discussion that we'll have with a private company. Okay, thank you, everybody. We are back in from the closed portion of the meeting. There is no report for us to rise with. So having said that, then the committee of the whole meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.